Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Moment of Truth, Community Connoisseurs Instagram podcast, in which we bring to you every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. Tonight, we have a very, very special guest with us, Mr. Mohamed Jalloh, the owner of Jalloh Coffee. I see my guy, Mohamed, has tapped in. Again, thank you all for joining the Moment of Truth. If you all can do us a favor and hit that arrow at the bottom right-hand side of your screen and invite a few people in your personal network to this phenomenal conversation about a brother who's really, really climbing the ladders of success, really doing great things. Teacher Rose, my God, Teacher Rose is back. Welcome, 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 brother. So without further ado, before we bring Mohamed Jalloh in, the owner of Jalloh Coffee, young entrepreneur doing his thing in an industry that's very competitive, that's doing it from the United States all the way to Africa. He's doing so many phenomenal things, y'all. I'm just so excited for him to tell us a little bit about his story and about the work that he's doing. Before we do that, though, we gotta bring our brother, winner, hard worker, the one and only Teacher Rose in the building. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring in our brother, Teacher Rose, for 5 minutes of joy juice before we get to Mohamed. Hey, Teacher Rose. There he is. There he is. Winner, hard worker. Teacher Rose, what's happening, brother?
Oh, man, I feel good, man. God bless. How are you today, sir?
Wonderful, man. It's a pleasure and an honor to be in your presence, man. I'm so happy that you're back in action. You know what I mean? You're smiling. You're looking like you've been, going right in the right way to keep yourself motivated and keep yourself going. So I'm just happy to have you here with us tonight, brother.
Man, it's a blessing to be here, man. What y'all do is the energy of the world, man. It's the good energy of the world. We need more positivity. We need more positive energy for people to live more positively because we know it's harsh out here. It's tough out here. So we need more people out here who put more positive energy in the air. We need more people out here who put more positive life in the air. Enough negativity, crush the negativity, up with positivity. So I'm going to jump right into it because it is the moment of truth. Y'all got to hit that arrow, invite in about 10, 15 because what you're going to hear is always empowering, inspiring, encouraging. I just got a piece of advice I'd like to share with you if you want to hear it. Might be useful out there, hard workers, for you to get better, for you to improve. I just want to promote your engagement into your life, into your dreams, into your wishes, into your ideas. Mentality determines salary. Our mentality determines our salary. You are, I am, we are what we value our worth at. That what you truly believe is that what you truly become. When you believe you worth more, more is what you work for. More is what you ask for. More is what you demand and expect. When you believe that you are worth more, more is what you seek to attain. More is what you reach to obtain. When you believe you are worth more, more is what will be gained out there, watchers and listeners. Mentality determines salary. When you think high, high is where you rise. When you think low, low is where you go. When you don't believe you are worth more, you do the opposite of working. Instead, you are waiting and you don't do much, very little, hardly anything to improve yourself, advance yourself, or better yourself. So things don't or never do hardly or rarely ever get any better. When getting better is not valued, it is not seen to have much worth. When getting better is valued, it is seen to produce much worth. I have a small piece of advice tonight that I like to share with you tonight. Advice that just might ignite the life of one of you hearing this message tonight. Mentality determines salary. Your mentality determines your salary. Your value is what you believe you are worth. Our value is what we believe we are worth. Our mentality determines our salary. So feed your mind what will increase your belief in your mind. So when you out in society next time, your mindset is no different from the mindset of the anaconda in the Amazon. When you out in society, your mindset is no different than the lion that roams on the lands of the Serengeti. When you out in society, your mentality is no different than the killer whale that's swimming throughout the oceans. You feel strong in your environment because you believe in your mind, that you believe in yourself. It's that kind of value in your thinking that makes you worthy, hard workers, and worthy you are. It's that type of thinking in your mindset that makes you strong. And strong is what we need to be when we out in this society. It is a winner-winner mindset. It is a community connoisseurs Thursday night extravaganza with a great guest and a great host, and always a great message. Keep the joy juice flowing, hard worker, and keep the winner-winner mindset growing. Hard workers. Thank you so much.
Make sure y'all give our brother Teacher Rawls a follow at Teacher Rawls. As you can see, he comes with all the energy, the motivation, the passion that you need to get your day started, your weeks going, your business flowing, everything that you need. Holler at our brother Teacher Rawls for that motivation. He also does a podcast on Sundays as well, where he has phenomenal individuals on his platform. So thank you for the joy, for spreading the joy juice all the time, Teacher Rawls. So, really quick, I want to shout out a couple of people I see that's tapped in. Mike G, what up? Vito, what up? I see Nick is in the building. Lizzie in the building. What's up, Lizzie? It's a lot of great people that's hopping in right now. L, a lot of people we already got, you know, some comments in the chat box. So this is just the energy that I feel to kick off a really, really phenomenal conversation about a very, very, you know, decent young man that's doing a lot of great work. He's tapped into a very competitive industry, which is the coffee industry, but we're just here happy to have him on to share his story. MOHAMED JALLOH. MOHAMED JALLOH is a first-generation American born in Maryland by Sierra Leone immigrant parents. MOHAMED has always had a passion for helping those in his community in DC and Africa. His ultimate dream is to open feeding centers, hospitals, and boarding schools throughout Africa. MOHAMED has over 19 years of experience in the food and beverage industry, spending the last 3 years focusing on ethically sourced coffees produced in Africa through his company now known as Jalloh Coffee. So without further ado, if everybody can do me a favor, one, hit that arrow at the bottom right-hand side of your screen and invite some of your network to this phenomenal conversation. This young man is doing great things. I'm sure that people want to hear about his story. Hit the arrow and invite some of your network to this conversation. And also, do me a favor and hit that emoji sign and hit the clapping emojis and put some clapping comments inside of the comment box for this young brother, MOHAMED, as we bring him on to the moment of truth. Oh, MOHAMED, what's happening?
How's it going? How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing well, you know, blessed. I'm glad to be on, you know, this live with you.
Absolutely, man. We're happy to have you as well, man. First and foremost, I just want to say, man, you know, you're doing a lot, MOHAMED. Young man out here, you know, striving for greatness. You know, have your own business that you're running. You're doing a lot. We're honored to have you on because you could be doing anything right now, but you decided to spend an hour with us here on A Moment of Truth tonight. So I wanted to first and foremost, on behalf of community connoisseurs, say thank you, man. You know, we really appreciate you on, and we're just excited to hear more about your story.
You know, I appreciate it, man. You know, usually around this time, this the time I start feeding my daughter her dinner. So she all right. She get to watch the Cocoa Mountain and not be bothered for this hour.
Okay, got you. That's wonderful, man. So first thing first, man, you know, the way we like to start our conversations here on A Moment of Truth, there's people that's coming in from our personal network, your personal network right now, and those who are going to be joining. For those who are on right now, though, who do not know who MOHAMED JALLOH is, let's take them back to your childhood. I'd like to start our conversations with your childhood, your early years. Let's talk to them a little bit about early years, MOHAMED.
Okay, so my early years, I grew up in PG County. grew up in different parts of PG County. My parents were working in DC. My mom and my dad both own like hot dog stands. So I grew up pretty much. I started my daycare. My first, I want to say, it was preschool or daycare was like in DC. I think it was on 9th Street. If I'm not too familiar, but yeah. So pretty much, I grew up in different parts of PG County. I'm the oldest of 6 children. Like I mentioned, like you mentioned in the bio, my parents are from Sierra Leone. So, I grew up in a very like African community. And yeah, so for the most part, I had an interesting, childhood. Did like, what the kids did, play football, what else? Ran track, I did those kind of things, but most times I really was working. It's a funny story. I actually missed going to Disney World as a child because I was at work with my mom and my uncle and my cousin tried to surprise me. Back in those days, we didn't have cell phones. So I was at work. So I always remember, like, I haven't gone on vacation that wasn't working. I missed that since I was a child, so maybe that's kind of what put me in that position now. So yeah, so my childhood was, I want to say it was fun, it was fun. It was definitely, we definitely, we had our challenges. My mom and my dad broke up. So my mom, struggled for a little bit, and then, she married my stepdad, what I'm saying, good, honorable man. And, she pretty much helped put him through school. So she was the one working while he was going to school. And then obviously, when business took a downturn for her, his career was able to, like lift her up.
That's phenomenal, man. You just unpacked a lot really quick. So yeah. I want to ask you, Mohamed, how old are you?
I'm 29.
You're 29, okay. Yeah. And let's go back into your childhood a little deeper, right? Because in your bio, you say you were born with Sierra Leone immigrant parents. I want to talk about, your household a little more. You said you're the oldest of 6.
Yeah.
And then when did your parents come to America? Did they come at an earlier age of their lives, or were they like?
No, they were adults already. Okay. I don't know what year they came, to be honest. I want to say maybe like a year or 2 before I was born. Not too long, So if anything, maybe up to 3 years. So my parents, they were here. They came from Sierra Leone. So they weren't here. They weren't here for too long, for real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically it was a decision by your parents to come to America because they wanted to. What was the reason? What was the main primary reason? Did they ever talk to you about the primary?
Yeah, well, my grandmother actually married an American man, and he helped get all of her kids, well, almost all of her kids, citizenship, except for 3 of them weren't able to get citizenship. For the most part, most of her kids came over here. So my grandmother had 8 kids, 5 came here, and so she wanted to give them a better life. Obviously, like when people are in Africa, everyone feels like America is the place to be. Everybody think America is like, the #1 place in the world. So, but if you compare, the resources and the access to resources here compared to there, America kind of blows those other places away, So my grandmother married a man, and he wanted to like give her and her kids a better life. So he brought them over here, and she actually had a child with him. And that was her child who got killed. He got killed in like District Heights or Capitol Heights. And that was like their youngest brother.
Wow. So growing up with your parents before they separated, right? Tell us a little bit, because obviously, your mom played a huge role in your work ethic, because you said that you were very young working with your mom at a hot dog stand, correct?
Yeah, hot dog stand,
So like in your household, who was really like that individual? Was it both of your parents, or was it like your mom that really instilled that deep drive to really go out and, because having a hot dog stand, that's a form of entrepreneurship. Yeah. So was that something that was always taught to you within your household, or was it more so get a good education, get a job, or were you always kind of like educated at a young age to go out and, pursue your dreams and build your own businesses and things of that nature?
Yeah, I think entrepreneurship came more so from like a subconscious place, like my mom. I don't think my parents looked at hot dog stand as an entrepreneurship. They looked at it more as an opportunity to make money. My mom didn't have education. You get what I'm saying? So she didn't have the credentials to get these like quote unquote good jobs. So you know, they got hot dog stands. I'm sure somebody put them onto it, say, hey, look, you can make quick money doing this. Or say, oh, cool, I don't need to read or write to get a job like this, right?
Right.
And so that's what happened. As far as like my mom and my biological father, my mom broke up when I was really young.
Okay.
So, you know, of course, I remember him like coming to pick us up, but I don't have the memory of them two being together. I was too young for that. But the memory I do have is like, you know, him coming to pick us up. I remember, you know, my mom never, the divorce never was messy on my mom's, and my dad, obviously he's a good man, you know, we don't have no issues, but he kind of did some like petty things to my mom. So like my uncles was always trying to like, you know, be more like tough with him. You get what I'm saying? My mom's like, no, you know what, like just let it be. You get what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
don't ever remember him. But now as far as my stepdad goes,
Okay.
you know, he's the book man. Like he like, you know, obviously, and my parents too, right? My mom, she mostly believes like, hey, you know, education, especially when people come from like Africa, they feel like, man, listen, education is the only way to succeed in this world. You have to have degrees. And my stepdad, you know, he was a professor in Africa. He was in the military. So he was a very like strict, you know, kind of person. So he promoted education, and he was very, very strict on like how he did it. You know what I'm saying? So when I was young, I remember like when I think I'm supposed to be learning like 1 through 10, he had me like learning through 100. You get what I'm saying? And if you
Yeah.
messed up, you get a butt whooping and stuff like that. So school was all he knew. So I never like
Mhm.
grew up saying, you know, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. I just never did that. I just feel like growing up, entrepreneurship things started happening, right? I just started selling candy. You know, it started like stuff like that. And then when I grew up older, I'm like, oh, I've been doing this my whole life.
Right. Right. Wow. Wow. So let's talk about that. Like in those stages when you start getting older, you know, and you start seeing the world in your view, based on your background and your upbringing within your household.
Yeah.
Uh, Working at a very young age, I think working at a young age instills those type of those type of values and those like just that drive to want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're not really given everything, you actually have to work for it at a young age. It instills that
Yeah.
drive. So as you got older, let's just fast forward to around like middle school, high school. Did you go? Where did you go to school? Did you go to school in Maryland as well? Did you
Yeah,
go?
I went to one school and it was Thomas Jefferson. That was like in Lanham, Seabrook area. I went to Thomas Jefferson Middle School, and then I transferred to Benjamin Tasker, like in Bowie High School, and then in Bowie, Maryland. Then that's when I went to Bowie High School. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And in high school, what type of things were you into? Were you kind of already? I mean, you said that you started selling candy and things like that. But were you more so? What type of student were you? Were you the type that? I mean, I know you value education because you
Well,
went to.
no, I didn't value education.
Okay, let's
No,
talk.
no, no, no. In high school, to be honest, like when I was in high school, my ninth grade. So put it like this: I actually didn't complete my first book till I was in college. So like I was, you know, like when you're like young, you kind of think that like, man, I'm too cool. You know what I'm saying? So I was that type of student in high school. So I remember like in ninth grade, I had a teacher, um, and I didn't like her. So one day we going down the hallway, and it's like going to another class, and like I screamed something in her room, and then it made her like cry. So I was banned from her class for the whole freshman year. So I was that type of student like in high school. And then my cousin like moved in into my parents' house, and then like, you know, they was already doing go-go's. They was doing the shows and stuff like that. So then we started skipping school to go put flyers outside in the city at nighttime, going to other school let outs. So it got to the point where when it came to graduation time, you know, they told me like, yeah, you're not, you know what I'm saying, you got to come back because you don't got your credits, da da da. And man, you know, but my guidance counselor, funny enough, I really didn't think I was gonna have a diploma in my envelope on graduation. And at the end, I seen it because I was shocked. I'm talking about like I was in the last row. I think I was like one of the last 5 people to get my diploma. My last name is Jay. I'm supposed to be up in the front, and when everybody else in the back didn't have that. I had mine, and you know, my counselor came to me, he's like, "Man, look, man, I don't want you coming into my office anymore. You know, I think you can do better in life, blah blah. You know, just like really, like I believe in you." So they let me get my diploma, and I got up out of there. But yeah, in high school, man, I was having a good time. I'm not gonna lie, tell everybody like I loved high school because I wasn't in the classrooms. I was going to all the lunches. You know, it was that type of high school. It was that kind of fun. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about we was taking my mom out every night. Like I was missing school. It was so bad. I missed school for so long. I had a parent-teacher conference. I brought somebody else in to pretend to be my parents. Like I was that kind of student. It was just too much fun. But now I look back, I was like, I wish I would have, been down on my books, would have got a free education in college. But I don't regret it though, because it made, it's a part of who I am.
It's safe to say that you winged high school.
Oh yeah, no, man. I winged high school and college, man.
So let's just bring it back full circle though, because definitely, I mean, you were one of the lucky ones that were able to make it through in that manner.
Yeah.
What type of advice would you give to a young man that thinks that, education is a game and, kind of, just, hooking school and things like that? What type of advice would you give a young woman or a young man right now that may be that same mode that you were, that you said that you look back at now and wish you would have did things a little different? What type of advice would you give that young man or that young woman?
What I would tell kids is like, man, think about your future. You know what I mean? Because when you're like young, I'm sure you can relate, and everybody can relate. When you're like young, it's certain things you did that you thought was cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that was never really cool, right? So for me, I would tell kids, like, man, listen to your parents first and foremost, because a lot of times your parents know what they be talking about. You just can't relate to it yet. And then when you get older, you start looking like, dang, like, because now you become a parent and you start looking at things. So my advice to kids is like, I'm not gonna say I'm pro education, like, oh, everybody needs to go to school, right? I am pro educating yourself, however it is, through watching YouTube videos, reading books. I'm pro educating yourself. I feel like the day you stop learning is the day you stop living. So I do think that people should learn. I would say that when you're like young, apply yourself to the things that interest you. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if I feel like if I had the knowledge I have now in high school, I'd be a billionaire. You know what I'm saying? But we all would be, right? So I tell kids, like, really just figure out what your passion is. Don't follow the trends and none of that stuff. Like, really just, figure out who you like. Try to learn yourself.
Yeah.
Before you try to go and be around a bunch of other people, because you're going to end up falling into something that ain't really you. And sometimes, for some people, it ends up in a worse way where it's either incarcerated or in jail.
Absolutely. And, it's amazing you said that, because you took the exact sentiments out of my mind, right? I was just thinking that, like, when I asked you the question and I'm hearing you give your feedback, I was thinking one of the biggest things that I feel is advice for kids as they grow up. And, you're in that stage where you're trying to figure it out, the world.
Yeah.
But that we kind of sometimes do it when we're young and we're just living is we don't look within, right?
No.
And how to do that in our households, like figuring out what you love to do and like figuring out about yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses and things, being able to identify those things. And subsequently, it can make you a much better decision maker and make you a lot more well-rounded as you get older and make decisions, that can be, either detrimental or, a gift to your life. So that's great advice, man. It's amazing that you're able to give the advice. I really see, I mean, obviously you have a passion for community, and I can see you working with kids and everything that you're doing, pouring into kids will be something huge for you on your journey as well. Just the way you just broke that down, man, that's very, it was very profound. So thank you for sharing your perspective. So one of the things, Mohamed, that we do here on The Moment of Truth is we look at the comments, we read the comments, and we value and pin some of our viewers' questions. So all that are on right now, if you're viewing right now and you have any questions for Mohamed as we continue this conversation, please feel free to drop them in the comment box and I'll be sure to pin them. With that said, we have a question that came through from Too Cool to Lose, and it's in reference to the students in school, and the advice that you just gave. Their question was, what happens if their parents are not around?
Well, that's unfortunate for those who don't have their parent, right? I think for me, I take for granted like having both my parents till I've met people who don't have their parents. So, so when it comes to those who don't have their parents around, I feel like they need to be connected to some kind of mentor, you know, some kind of older authority who can guide them, because I don't feel like, you know, the blind can lead the blind. Like, I can't be a 13-year-old, you know, guiding my other 13-year-old friend where I haven't even seen life. So for those who don't have friends, I mean, who don't have parents, you know, whether it's family members who are, you know, who are like older family members, like aunts, uncles, cousins, you know, kind of like listening to them, picking their brains. You're at school, you know, kind of getting close to your counselors. Nowadays they have so many like mentorship programs, right? And I love these mentorship programs, and that's one of the things I really want to get involved with, is how can we mentor those and help those who don't have access to parents? Because a lot of times those of us who do have both of our parents and are fortunate to have both our parents alive, we take it for granted, you know. And I think of so many people who don't have that opportunity, and I just feel like what they can do, if they can, is just, you know, connect with those who can lead them. You know, never is. I feel like when you ask, the worst thing that can happen is no, right? You see somebody say, hey, you know, hey Charlie, I love what you got going on. You're doing this, you're doing that. I aspire to be like you. How can I, you know, what's some things I can do? How can I, you know, how can I get to this step? And I feel like those conversations are very monumental. And I've had a conversation, like, if I can go into that story.
Absolutely.
I was in Los Angeles. I had a juice business on Melrose, and a group of kids came by, and you know, I don't get them all free juice, right? It was the kids that sell candy. You know, if you ever been to LA, it's the kids that sell the chocolate bars and the, you know, and the Skittles and stuff like that. So for those who've been to LA, you'll see kids walking up and down Melrose. They're trying to sell you Snickers, Hershey's, whatever type of candy. So it was a group of them. They came. I gave them like these cold pressed organic juices. They all left, and then one dude stayed back, and he's like, man, how'd you start a business? I know how to cook. I want to start a business. He's in middle school. So we talking. He's sitting down, you know, talking to me for like an hour. So we having a conversation. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, man, I'm like, well, you doing what I did at a young age. I was selling candy like you. And he said, man, he said, bro, to be honest, he's like, we're not selling the candy for ourselves. We're selling for these older dudes. That's when I found out this candy business was a whole like scheme. He was like, man, he said, bro, it's like sometimes when we leave, we'll be out here all day. He's like, they'll just like take all our money. If anything, on the best day, they might give us $5. They give us like these fake Gucci belts and stuff like that. It's like, but we don't get nothing. And I had like a conversation with him. I said, man, listen. I said, you got the opportunity to go and make your own money, right? Go buy 5 pieces of candy, flip that into 7. Go turn that, right? Go do your own thing. So, true story. The next day, I came back to the same spot, saw the same group of kids. I'm like, what's up with my man Elijah? They're like, oh, he's not allowed around here no more. And I'm like, and I ain't think about you. I'm like, damn, what happened? Fast forward, a month goes by. I go to another part of LA, Venice Beach. And I'm out there, and I run into him, and it's him with a group of other dudes. And they come up. He's like, man, what's going on, bro? He's like, man, I took your advice. Me and my boys, the other boys, like, yeah, we can't go to Melrose no more because of him. But they out here doing their own thing now. They selling on a whole nother side of town because that conversation that we had, he took my advice that day and started his own thing with his own group of friends, the ones who was willing to like, hey, man, you know what? We're not selling for them. We're doing our own thing. Come on, let's rock. And they're on a whole nother side of town. So for me, I just feel like having that conversation where you never know what you might tell these kids, and they like, you know what, man, I like that. I'm gonna apply that to my life.
Yeah, and I love that story, man. That's why I think one of the things that you know, I try to do when I'm having interactions with just people in general, whether youth or adult, is just always keep the conversation uplifting and positive, because you never know how much you can help somebody just from little nuggets. You might just be kicking it and just letting them know about what you did and what your passions are, and just that one conversation can spark what that individual needs to just, you know, take their lives and their ideas to another level. So thank you for sharing that story, man. That's a phenomenal story.
Thank you.
True testament of what you were saying, finding those individuals that can, you know, pour into you and give you that advice that can help you take your life, your ideas, whatever it is that you want to do, your motivation, your drive to the next level, even if you don't have that foundation at home. Because one of the things that I've actually noticed is people that are really doing things in their lives and successful, they don't mind giving the game. You know what I mean? It bags. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So putting yourself in those right environments, talking to the right people, constantly, reaching out, doing, just connecting with different people that can support what you're trying to do, man. That's huge. So thank you for sharing it, brother.
Man, thank you.
I want to talk about, your high school years. Obviously, things, I mean, not your high school years. I apologize. We just talked about your high school years. You graduate, a miracle graduation.
Yeah.
Then you go to college. Where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to college?
Man, so I went down to Tuskegee.
Wow.
So I had a cousin he just crossed the fraternity. He was in a fraternity, and one of the people in the admissions office was in his fraternity. So what happened was I reached out to him like, yeah, bro, I'm trying to go to college. He's like, all right, send me your stuff. And so I sent him my application. Well, I put in my application. He came back to me and said, man, bro, he said, you ain't getting no school with them grades. And well, he's like, man, bro, you got to go to SATs again or something like that. I'm like, man, bro, I'm not taking the SAT again. Like, you know what I mean? I went to my SAT. I was like the first one out of there. I just couldn't do it. I just wasn't that kind. Like, even in the pre-SAT, like, I stayed in the bathroom when they was taking the pre-SAT. So I'm like, man, I said, bro, you got to get me into school some way. So basically, long story short, he got me into Tuskegee. I go down there for a semester. And basically, long story short, I threw my family threw like a graduation cookout. So I took all that money and I went and invested in a party bus, like, to get a bus driver. I booked a venue. So I started like messaging everybody on Instagram, like, hey, look, I'm coming down to Tuskegee. I'm about to throw the livest party ever. So I was already friends with everybody. So I went down. That's why I didn't even have bed sheets when I went to college. I didn't have bed sheets for the first week. Because I put all my money into trying to promote this party. And after the party was over, man, they named my room the Palace. So yeah, so I went to Tuskegee for a semester, came home for like Thanksgiving break, and my cousin, and we went to the club. At the time, it was like Club Fur.
Yeah.
And it was like lit. I'm like, man, I can't be in the country no more. I need to come back home. So I said, I'm going to apply to Howard. At this time, Howard deadline was like November 1st. I'm talking about applying to Howard. I think I applied to Howard December something. The deadline to apply was November 1st, bro. I lied to you not. I went up to the school begging them, like, man, please let me in, let me in. They was like, well, we don't even have your transcript. We don't have nothing. I'm like, man, well, I mean, because Tuskegee was closed for the break. And the next day I come home, I'm laying on the couch. They're like, oh, Mo, you have an overnight priority mail, and it's my acceptance letter to Howard. Wow. I got into Howard without them having my transcript or nothing. I swear to God, I'm like, damn. So that's why I'm always like, man, it don't hurt to ask. Right? And I didn't have the grades or nothing. My GPA wasn't even good for me to get in Howard anyway. So, I mean, I got in and so I went from Tuskegee to Howard, and then, I mean, and I did the same thing when I got to Howard.
Wow. And what did you study when you got to Howard? What was your
telecommunications with a minor in business?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody just told me, like, man, just apply to school to see it's the easiest school to get in. I'm like, cool. Like, I just want.
Did you finish Howard?
No. I didn't finish Howard, man. I used to do a semester and then leave a semester. I was like in London trying to do shows, and then I would come back, and then I'll go to Atlanta. Like, I was just in and out of schools. I never finished. Got to the point like, man, yeah, I can't do it. Like, not saying I can't. I just didn't want to do it. I never really had a passion for school, so I just liked the social life of school.
Yeah.
And then when so in college it was just kind of like, for me, throwing parties and events in college was so easy because like I grew up doing like the go-go's and stuff like that with my cousin. So I like the type of promotion the type of street promo that I learned, like, from like what we was doing, and I applied that in college. Man, they never seen nothing like it before. I had a party in school. It was the year Drake and everybody came to homecoming. We called it the big ass party. Excuse my language for any kids on the live, but it was called the big ass party, Howard homecoming. Every celebrity you could think of was at a club in DC that weekend. Bro, we had a line wrapped around the club. It was at Ibiza at the time. Line wrapped around the club at 5 p.m. Doors only open till 11. And the party was so lit, but majority of Howard kids couldn't get in because they went to the yard. They went to Step Show. Man, I was the most hated man on campus for a whole month.
All your people couldn't get in.
Man, I was the most, because everybody who got in was bragging. Everybody who didn't get in was beefing. And the hate speak louder than the love.
Yeah, that's the life of a promoter, man.
Man.
Yeah. So how long were you in promotion? How long were you doing parties after high school?
Oh, I was doing parties in college. To be honest, I was doing parties maybe up until about like 2014, 2015.
Mhm.
It was just, yeah, I think about till 2014, 2015. I don't think I did a party or anything like that ever since.
Wow, wow. Okay, yeah, that's some similarity. I was out in the field a little bit. That promotion world
Yeah,
around that 2010s, around the time we started. Around 2016, I think we were more so doing like a lot of the venues like K Street, Connecticut
yeah,
Avenue, that nature. But I do know that like college party scene, Fur Ibiza used to be crazy, you know,
yeah,
crazy. So, it's funny to know that you were one of the promoters that was causing some of that litness over there in a beat and things like that. Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about, so you did the promotion for a little while, right?
yeah,
And I mean, those who have a position in promoting, that's where you basically you're getting the deals and you getting contracts with the venues and things of that nature. Know that can be a very lucrative field of
yeah.
endeavor. What is I'm curious, from one person who's done that as an event planner before to another person who did event planning. I always find it interesting to ask, what was one of the biggest things that you feel, now that you're not doing promotion anymore in the nightlife? What were one of the biggest things that you were able to pull out of that scene once you left?
Um, so a lot of things, like I mentioned earlier about the childhood and entrepreneurship, a lot of things were subconscious, right?
Hmm.
So for me, how because social media just really started blowing up when I got to college. I think Instagram came out my freshman year, like my second semester, like when Instagram came out, and it got to the point where at Howard, like I was like, the top promoter, so everybody was trying to come for my neck, so people started collaborating, but it was kind of hard for like people to triumph, like to take me down, because I always learned that people like personal connections. So
Right.
I made it to a point where I'm selling tickets, I'm passing out flyers to each person, I'm getting to know each person. I got a story, I got some type of connection to everybody. So when I'm doing an event, it's like, oh, we're gonna go because Mo invited us to this. I wasn't just doing mass promo. So I learned that personal connections
Mm.
make people to come and support you more than just putting out a flyer. Anybody can throw out a flyer. All right, when am I gonna go there? But it's like you can say, you know what, man, I know Charlie, man. Charlie the big man. Charlie gave me this. So I used to do like different things. I used to make people feel special when I did parties, right? Like I used to do, for me, I used to throw my parties. Like I would get so like I'll have like a budget for promo, and I would do like free cupcakes for everybody who just come out of the girls' dorm. Oh my God,
Wow.
who gave me free cupcakes, free chicks? I did a thing at Howard. So that time when everybody hated me, I did an apology letter I did an apology party, and I put like a sticker on, just like, like, oh, we support you. You know what I'm saying? I support you. Like, I appreciate you. Give out free Chick-fil-A. And in college, anything free. You can give out a free bottle of water. They're going to be loyal to you. So I always felt like, when you pour into people, they pour back into you. So that's the one thing I learned. Like, I always felt like, hey, like I wanted to build those connections with people. So that's what I learned from the promo was, man, personal connections beat all this social media stuff. You can have the best marketing plan, but if folks can't feel you, touch you, or be a part of you, they ain't going. What separates your brand from the next, or your party from the next party?
That's facts, man. You're very creative, innovative, man, and everything that you said is factual, because one of the things that I was hoping that you said, and which you alluded to, was just that personal connection, that network. I'm sure that people that you did parties with, you looked out for back then when you were doing those events, maybe throwing birthday parties or whatever the case may have been, are still in your network today and probably still support what you have going on. And that's one of the things that I value as well. When I left promotion, I was able to transfer those networks, those contacts, those people that we really had personal relationships with. You know what I mean? Like, remembering that, we do their 21st birthday party, or remembering that we got them Georgetown cupcakes where everybody else was just giving regular you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Personal things that made people feel like, wow, they're really investing in, this connection, was what we were able to pull out of that industry. And I'm glad to hear that worked out for you as well. So
appreciate.
moving forward though, Mohammed, after after the promo, what was like what did you do after promo? When you decided to leave? I know that you said that you were out in LA for a while. And
Yeah, yeah, I went to LA. And I'll let you finish your question.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was just
Oh,
saying,
yeah,
was that right after? Did you go out to LA right after your promotional time period, or like what?
yeah, pretty much like around that time. So so one time I was still at Howard, and I was talking to my cousin like, yeah, bro, we about to go to this lit party in LA. It's about to be Halloween, man. She probably, man, LA is vicious. I ain't never been to LA. I'm like, man, y'all gassing it. Like, man, bro, you gotta come out here. So I flew out to LA. I touched down to LA, and I'm seeing palm trees, like people got the drop top. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's warm over there. I just came home from having a jacket on, so I'm like, yo. I first went there to go visit, and I fell in love with the weather and all that stuff like that. And then so what happened? I want to say like 2017. I was like locked up briefly. You know what I'm saying? And when I was in there, I was like, man, I can't wait to go back to LA.
You said you were locked up.
Yeah, briefly.
Locked up for briefly.
No. It was also. Oh, you said what was I locked up for?
Yeah.
Marijuana,
Oh, okay.
marijuana possession in Utah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we was, just driving from one state to another, had some weed in the car. They're like, man, what they did was, oh, you got tents.
Oh, okay.
One of those things. It was like it's a major trafficking route, so they just pull everybody over. So
Yeah.
when I got pulled over, I pretty much I just took the charge because the two people that was with me, one of them just came home from doing 6 years, so he was gonna go right back, and then my other cousin didn't have his citizenship. So I'm like, yeah, that's all me. So I just, what I did was, I told him, man, look, I'm in school, finishing my degree, this and that, and then so crazy. While I was there, they passed a law that made that type of offense like non-punishable. You know what I mean? So, but when I was in there, I was like, I'm already on the West Coast. As soon as I get out, I'm going to LA. I'm gonna go eat me some steak, this and that, and so that's when I went out there for a couple years.
Mm-hmm. And what was your pursuits out there? Like you just wanted to go to LA, or did you have like a goal in mind or idea to manifest out there?
So for me, I just feel like wherever I go, I'm gonna adapt to something, right? I didn't have an idea of like what I wanted to do just yet. I didn't know that I was pursuing music, right? I was helping artists and stuff like that, but I also knew that I was always going to be an entrepreneur. I was going to invest in other businesses. So when I got to LA, my goal was to, hit the music scene, right? Help out the artists I was working with, and then figure things out from there. And that's pretty much what I did when I got out there. And then I ended up meeting somebody, and then we ended up like doing like a juice business, right? They mentioned they had a dope idea. I'm like, well, shit, I got some little money, I can invest in it, right? And then we kind of worked together, kind of putting some stuff together. But yeah, that lasted for a little bit, and that's when I transitioned into the coffee.
Okay, let's talk about that transition because we got you for 20 minutes, and I definitely want to talk about Jalloh Coffee. Not only I want to talk about how it started, but I also want you to go in depth about some of the things, phenomenal things that you all are doing, and some of the goals that you have. So Jalloh Coffee, let's tap right into that. After you left, the West Coast, and you parted ways with the juice business, you came with the idea of the coffee. How did that idea come into fruition?
So, all right. So the day I met the little boy I was telling you the story about, I ended up meeting these girls who had like a coffee trailer in Venice. So the day when the little boy I was telling you about with the whole candy selling, so I met them and we was talking. I'm like, yo, this is a dope idea. You get what I'm saying? As far as with coffee, I was like, my passion is to like, so I'll take it back to the juice, right? I did the juice business because I wanted to create something where I can create. LA has a lot of food deserts, so Black people don't have access to these healthy juices. I wanted to make the juices affordable, and I was going around trying to pitch it to different like soul food restaurants in the hoods, and they were just like, nah, we don't want that. We only want lemonade. We like literally people would tell me like, man, they don't want that juice. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like that's unfair to the community because there are people and there are people who live in quote unquote food deserts who would like to have access, but they don't have that access. So that's what I was trying to pitch. It wasn't working out, so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna focus on Africa. My passion's always been Africa, right? and community. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna focus on coffee, and I want to focus on something I could take from Africa and bring back to Africa. And that's when I met them. We did the coffee thing briefly, and I was just like, you know, I'm gonna just go my separate way. I was like, our visions don't really see eye to eye. You know what I mean? I really want mine to be like intentionally about my community, right? I wanted to be known. So then I started an African coffee business. And I called it Pink Star because in LA everybody wants to be a star, and the Star Walk of Fame called Pink Star. So that's what I did. I was doing that, and then I ended up going to Africa, right? So one day I'm in the gym giving out samples. Dude's like, man, your coffee's good the night before. So for everybody out there, the power of the tongue is vicious. It's serious. So the night before, I'm talking to my homegirl, my best friend. I'm like, man, it's one dude in the gym. Man, he seemed like he really connected. I'm gonna, you know, see if he want to invest in my business. So I go to the gym late this day. I run into him, and it's just me and him in the locker room. And I'm like, man, what's going on, Joe? I was like, man, you know, I got the coffee business, man. I love it. I was like, I know you're a busy man. I let it sit down with you. He's like, oh, yeah, I got free time today. Let's sit down. I sat with him, man. From that conversation, 24 hours, I had a round trip flight, hotel, and everything paid for in Africa.
Wow.
To Ethiopia to go find the coffee. I was like, where you get coffee? I was like, I'm getting my coffee from him. He's like, man, nah. He's like, go home, go do some research, come back. I came the next morning. I hit him with a bluff. I'm like, yeah, I found some stuff. He said, text your information to this number. Round trip flight to Africa, paid for. I'm like, I check my email. I said, I only got my shots. I don't got nothing. I'm like, my passport is my only form of ID, so I got that on me every day.
Right.
I'm like, man. And then I went to Africa 2020. I came back. 2 days later, the lockdown happened. And when I was in the lockdown, I was thinking, I'm like, so I was doing my coffee stuff, and I'm like, you know what, man? Like LA is cool, but my heart is really at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like the weather is cool, but my heart is really back at home. And then I ended up moving back here, and I was trying to manage a business across the country. And then I ended up having a daughter on the way. I'm like, man, you know what? I ain't about to be going back and forth. I need to be with her every day. Hopped on a random flight, brought my truck across the country, and then I was like, you know what, man? I need to take this brand to the next level. I'm gonna change the name and really go deep in Africa, and that's why I named it Jalloh.
Okay.
Coffee.
So what does Jalloh mean?
So Jalloh is a form of storytelling. So all this stuff that I've been telling you about my back history and everything, this conversation we're having is Jalloh, right? I done told you about my childhood and my middle school, high school. So that conversation is Jalloh. So for those who ever heard of Mansa Musa, the richest man ever to live, during the Mali Empire, how they passed down the history was through these oral conversations considered Jalloh. And those who told the story were considered Jollies.
Got you. So tell us a little bit more about Jalloh Coffee. You said you brought your truck back across the country. So was that you had a coffee truck? So you had a coffee truck while you were in LA, and you drove it back home.
Yeah, I drove back home. I drove the truck back home. So so I brought my coffee truck back over here. And so what was your question again? I'm sorry. What was the part?
I was about your coffee truck, because I noticed that you said that you drove your truck back across the country, and that I didn't know that if you were talking about your coffee truck. I do know that you have a coffee truck, and I want you to talk more about it, but I didn't know that was the actual truck that you drove from LA back home.
Yeah. So my coffee truck is it's a full service coffee shop. Only thing you can't get in there is food, and you can't sit down. So we got a full espresso machine. We serving specialty African coffee out of the truck. So people hit us up for like catering events. We could bring the truck outside. Any kind of outdoor events, any type of catering events, we could serve right out of our window.
Wow, that's amazing, man. And you also have a cafe that's coming. Let's talk about the cafe, and then I definitely got to talk about some of the work that you're doing and some of your goals that you have in regards to the community pillar of your organization as well, what you're doing here and at home with inner city communities, and also what you're doing in Africa.
Yeah, so pretty much we have a coffee shop we're building right now on 14th and we're projecting to open in January-ish. It's really coming down to construction and all that stuff like that, because it's under residential, so construction time is very limited. But we're looking to open up January 2023. So it's gonna be a full service cafe. You come in there from 7 to 3 every day. We're gonna have brunch on the weekends. and we're pretty much going to focus on, you know, our coffee and giving people like good food to go along with it.
That's amazing, man. And let's talk about the coffee bean though. Like, there's a dynamic to the type of coffee beans that you all use in
Yeah.
yeah. Let's
So
talk about what's a little insight for those who don't know about the coffee industry, because I mean it's a pretty competitive industry, right? You got your Starbucks, you have your Peach, you have different, you know, big name coffee vendors and things of that nature. So tell us what's unique about your coffee.
okay, so like I said, I focus on African coffee, right? Um, I like to say, you know, from where it all began, and coffee was founded in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
So, you know, I really wanted to take, like I said, I wanted to take something from, you know, the motherland and give back to the motherland. So we focus on it right now. We have coffee from Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania. Those are our three places that our coffees are coming from. And I say that with African coffee is also my favorite because they have a lot of like fruit notes to them, right? So like for those who like maybe who may drink wine and they like smell it and go to vineyards, the same thing with coffee. Coffee grows on these cherries, and in the African coffee, they're grown at like higher altitude. So they'll get you like you can stay up off of the caffeine, but it's not giving you that buzz feel. Like you'll be up, but you still feel like, you know, you still feel good because it got that caffeine to it. So I
Right.
just African coffee is the best coffee. So we're specializing in coffee from the East Africa.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So um, let's talk about, you know, because they say everyone, a lot of, you know, individuals who have obtained a level of success in business always say that it's always good to have a philanthropic um, pillar to what you do, right? Or organization. Right? You have your for-profit, and then you have perhaps like a nonprofit or
Yeah,
something that you're doing inside of your community
yeah.
to give. Talk about that component of what you have going on, some of the work that you've done and you plan to do within the communities here in America and also in Africa.
So through my business, I want to help as many people as I can, right? You know, for me, like, you know, I'm a Muslim, so, you know, and our religion really teaches that, you know, when God bless you, you know, it's good to bless others. So I have this belief where anytime, if I can do anything to help others, anytime I'm blessed, I need to bless other people as well. So one of the things I really wanted to focus on was helping children in Africa. So like you mentioned in my bio, I really want to do things to help kids in Africa, right? Because when I was younger in Sierra Leone, I forgot to mention this, but I was there during the war. So for those who ever seen the Blood Diamond, I was there as a child during the war, and it could have went left, right? I could have either been killed or I could have been a child soldier, right? Still going through that trauma, right? So for me, it's like, you know, when I feel like as I'm getting deeper into my career and I'm, you know, knocking down doors, I want to be able to help other people. And I don't want to be a business that's like, hey, we're going to Africa, we take it and we exploit it. You know what I mean? And then, you know, obviously I have a wife that's from Africa, right? She her and her siblings, most of them like they were adopted, right? So, you know, they were adopted and were taken out of this like, you know, situation. I'm not saying coming to America could have been the best, but it could have also been living a different kind of life, right? So I always look at those who were blessed and how their lives turned out, you know. And then as far as America goes, you know, when I was doing the go-go's and I was doing the shows and stuff like that, my cousins and I, we were around, you know, we were around a bunch of like people that people say we shouldn't be around, right? We, you know, we were around the quote unquote wrong crowd. And I don't necessarily say the wrong crowd. I just feel like a lot of people are misled. And a
Yeah,
lot of people are misled at a young age.
yeah, that's true.
And I just feel like, you know, especially as young black men, a lot of us, when we see people that's doing this, usually the dude in the neighborhood who's selling whatever, he got the nice car, he got the chain, he got the, I want to be like him. I also
Especially,
I also want to show them that, hey, look, you could be like me too. You know what I'm saying? Or you could be like Charlie's other ways. So I really want to help other kids because as people that I know who's been killed, right? They're not here today, you know, because of our environment. I mean, it's been times where I've been shot at, you know what I'm saying? I could have been dead or whatever the case may be. So it's just thinking like, man, you know, you don't have to be in that environment. But as you get older and you get wiser, you start realizing like, man, you know, I need to pass down this wisdom. I need to help people. And through my business, on top of that, I also mentioned the food insecurities earlier. I mean, the food deserts earlier. You know, we want to give 5% of our money to like help, you know, feed people in these communities, and that's actually how I got introduced to, you know, the Martha's Table. I was calling around like, yo, who's doing something? How can I work with y'all? And that's
Yeah.
when they mentioned people, and obviously your name came up in the conversation, and here we are today. You know, so you know, so looking at what people like you are doing is like, you know, I want to follow in your footsteps on how can I be a part of the community? How can I help the community, you know, in the way that you've already done?
Absolutely, man. And it's happening right now, man. You are doing it right now, and this is just one of many conversations that we will have. But thank you for your perspective, man. You have so much wisdom at a very young age, man, and it's just, you know, it's mind blowing. Just the way you are able to articulate your thoughts, and just the way that you look at community service, you know, and the way that you're approaching entrepreneurship. Man, we got a lot to talk about, man, because I'm just thinking so many things that we can connect on. But
Yeah.
I ask you, bro, really quick, if you could get some game to someone that may be on, or somebody that may view this conversation later, if they're interested in getting into the coffee business. I'm not really that familiar with the industry, the coffee industry, that much, but I'm not sure if there's that many people that look like us that's in that business.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, you know, ask if you can give some drop some Jews or someone that may be looking at you right now and like, man, I never thought about the coffee business, or is thinking about getting into the coffee business and trying to get into that lane, man. What type of advice would you give that individual on how to start something like what you have going on?
Man, the best advice on how to start is to start.
Yeah, that's good.
Because, you know, I always tell people when I was young, I used to always rush.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm like a point guard with my life and my business, right? I'm controlling the pace of the game. It's a lot of, because what I've learned time after time after time is that God's timing is the best timing.
Absolutely.
Every time I thought I wanted something on this day and I didn't get it till later, I was so glad I didn't have it when I wanted it, right? So I'll tell people that, you know, man, follow your heart, because nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows what's in your mind. Nobody can do what you can do, you know? And when it comes to, like, you know, the coffee industry, coffee was founded in Africa, like I mentioned earlier. The first Black-owned coffee brand didn't come to the market till 2020 during the George Floyd time, right? They didn't go to market as far as like being sold nationally distributed, right? So we still underrepresented, right? I think,
Right.
from my knowledge right now, they still the only ones who sold nationally, right? There's other people who are coffee people, who, you know, trying to do their thing, but as far as like on a global perspective, they're the only ones.
Yeah.
And for anybody who wants to get into the coffee business, I say start. Anybody who wants to get into any business, I just say just start, because you ain't gonna have the answers, and everybody gonna have the answers, and you
Yeah.
should listen to the answers but yours, right? And now I'm not saying don't take advice. Advice is always good, but you don't always have to take it, because when I first started, people was telling me how it wouldn't work, how I should do it like this, how I should do it like that. And I had to kindly tell them, like, man, listen, can you show me where your coffee business? I'm trying to see something. Well, my man did this. Well, can you show me his coffee business? I'm trying to see something. And it's not from an arrogant perspective. It's like, I got my plans, I got my visions. You can't necessarily tell me how to do it, because this is my plan and my visions, you know? So I say, you know, when you do your business, man, start your business and be confident. Don't be cocky. Don't have ego. Always learn. You know what I mean? Like, always learn. I want to say my best advisor is my mom, because funny enough, we was having a conversation a couple months ago. Now I'm looking back like, man, my mom was right. She was like, man, Mo, you know, you can focus on catering for your business. I'm like, man, I'm not doing that catering stuff. I'm about to take this coffee stuff to the, you know, to the market. I'm going to be like this. I'm going to be like that. And then all of a sudden, I haven't even launched yet. Even from yesterday to today, I got 5, you know, catering requests. Right?
Wow.
So my mom like, man, look, I'm like, man, you're right. These caterers coming left and right. She's like, I've been telling you, I pray every day. I'm like, but listen, you're right. You know what I mean? So it's good to take advice. Listen to people's advice. So I say, my advice is believe in yourself, be open to knowledge, you know, and just don't be afraid to fail, because business is full of failures.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And thank you for sharing that, brother. So, I do want to shift really quick, because I noticed that you said that you were married, right? You
Yeah.
know, I always like to ask this question when we have individuals that are happily married on our podcast, um, about the institution of marriage, right?
Yeah.
So, what is your perspective on the importance of the institution of marriage in the Black community? How important do you think that is in the Black African American community,
Man,
or in general?
oh man, I think, to be honest, man, I say having a wife is is a it's a humbling, right? It's a humbling situation, because it's like, you have somebody that, when you're like a man and you single and this and that, you kind of make your own decisions, you make your own rules, right? And then when you're like married, you have somebody who kind of has your best interest, but you don't be seeing it at times. You kind of see your own perspective and you want to do things. So I feel like, having the right wife. Now, you know what I'm saying? Let me emphasize that. Having the right wife is important. The right wife can take you to the next level. You know what I mean? From when I met my wife, she's part of the reason how I was able to, like, my vision was to, like, got so much clearer by having her around me. You know what I'm saying? Like, just being around her, like, it gave me so much more clarity. And I got to the point that it's like, I created this business that I'm like, yo, I couldn't have thought about this if it wasn't for you. You know what I mean? Like, the first day I met her, I told her about Jaliyah. She sent me like a whack logo from online, you know what I'm saying, that she made, but supporting my vision and helping me, go through the ups and downs. And I feel like, man, having a wife is just, it's important, right? I just feel like, don't rush it though. But if you find the right person, I don't think you should wait. I think you should just go after it. So I do think having a wife is very, important and beneficial.
Absolutely. Is that your wife in the comments saying that he's the best husband?
Oh no, I can't see the comments.
Man,
Yeah, that's her.
Queen in the building. Definitely got to shout out wifey that's in the building, supporting her, supporting, just like you said, supporting you right now as you're on the moment of truth. Shout out to the Queen, and definitely shout out to your perspective, King. I always like to ask people who are married who come on our platform about the institution of marriage and their just their thoughts on it, because that's something that could be deemed to be distinct inside of our community. However, man, know that Black love is the truth. It's powerful. I really appreciate what you all, the foundation that you all have. My follow-up question is, for a businessman that's doing so many things, young, active, has such an innovative mind, bringing your thoughts into fruition, but also being a father, a young father. Talk about how becoming a father shifted your perspective of life as well.
Man, I had a daughter. I have a daughter. So, man, my perspective on women changed first and foremost. Because, when I was like younger, I was, I don't want to sound like rude or anything like that. But, when you like young, you don't look at women as like somebody's daughter. So when I had a daughter, it's like my whole eyes changed. I'm like, oh man, like, I got to be a lot more nicer to her. I wasn't like wild respectful, but I kind of sometimes didn't really take women's emotion to perspective like that when I was like younger. So I look back like, dang, like I just start reflecting on it like, dang, that was somebody's daughter, you know what I'm saying, who hard I broke. So I think, with having a daughter also gave me like, motivation. It's like, now I got somebody that, I got to provide for, I got to do this for, and, I want to make sure that, her future is set. So, and also with being a father and being a businessman at the same time, it's very like, she done came into the room.
You wanted to get some time. Hey, beautiful.
Hello.
Look at her.
So having a daughter, man, it puts you in a place of humbleness. It's not, life ain't about you anymore. You got somebody else you got to provide for, and they really your boss.
Absolutely.
You got to feed her. She want to sleep. You know what I mean? She controls everything. So
yeah, amazing, man. Thank you. What's her name?
Nala.
Nala.
So our signature latte that's gonna be served at our cafes, like a pink and blue drink, is named after her.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then our Ethiopian coffee is named after my wife Bessa. So so Jaleel is storytelling. Every product, everything in our business has a story to it.
That's amazing, brother. I love it. I love it. I love it, man. This has been such a phenomenal conversation, brother. When I first met you, right, we actually met at an award show, and my girlfriend was with me, and you were getting ready to get called up, and I had already knew who you were because some of my colleagues were telling me about the work that you were doing and wanted us to connect.
Yeah.
And I saw you getting ready to. They were reading like your bio about the things that you were doing before you came and got your award. My girlfriend said, "Look at him. He may be a little nervous because you were like shaking your leg. You were so mild toned and like humble and reserved, and she could kind of feel that you may have been a little nervous to go up. And you went up there, did so well speaking. But speaking to you tonight, it was like, wow, this guy really, you know, has the gift of gab. Like you really can talk, and that's just a testament of everything that you've been able to manifest in your life and not being scared to, like you said, using your tongue to get through doors, connecting with people, and just putting your brand out there the way you do, man. Just the energy off through conversation, man. It just makes me want to come and get a cup of coffee from you right now. So I want you, thank you, man. This has been a phenomenal conversation. On the behalf of Community Connoisseurs, my partners are on. We really do appreciate you, brother. We're definitely going to stay connected. And one more time before you leave the platform, just drop like your website, anything, any way that anybody can get in touch with you in regards to partnerships, community events. If they want to utilize your brand, your company as a vendor at events, how can people get in contact with Jaleel Coffee?
Okay, so I just put my, I think I do it. So this is my first time doing Instagram live. So I just put my website on there. Y'all can go to my bio. We're on, jaleacoffee.com. Y'all can reach out. You can send me an Instagram DM. I'm gonna respond. I'm the only one, monitoring the page. So anything, you guys want, you can reach out to me directly. I'm accessible. I'm a very humble person. I don't believe in being bigger than anyone or being too cool to talk to anyone. Like I'm always available to have a conversation. And I also do want to plug in our project. We're doing this. So next Tuesday, it's going to be Saturday over here next Friday, but November 12th, we're flying to Nairobi, Kenya, and we're taking 150 kids. Majority of the children are from an orphanage to the movie theater to see Black Panther 2. A friend of mine, Todd Dre, she was going to this orphanage. She was going to the skate park and realized it was an orphanage on the skate park. And she had this dope idea that we should help raise money for the kids to get skates. We were able to raise, I think we're like about 2,000, a little under 2,000. And our goal was 3,000 to help these kids get skates. And so we're going to take the kids to the movie theater. And our mission behind this is allowing these children to see themselves in the light of greatness, right? I feel like a lot of Black people, when we saw Black Panther, we felt very proud, So I want these kids who may never had an opportunity before, who some may never have an opportunity to see a movie again. I want them to at least be like, hey, you know what? I was taken to a luxury movie theater to go witness Black Panther 2 with a group of kids, my age, and I was inspired. Even if just one child comes out of that, say, man, you know what? I'm gonna change my situation. I want to be this. I want to be the next president of Kenya. I want to go be a businessman in America. I want to go do whatever. I just want this movie to inspire them. So, you guys stay tuned. We'll be dropping that, video. And if anybody wants to support, the link is in our bio. We have Jalea Wakanda hoodies where 100% of the proceeds from the profits are going towards us making this project happen. I got my homeboy Red from Howard University. He's coming down with me. My wife is going to be with me and one of her friends. So we're going down and we're going to do stuff for the kids. And, and we want to come back home and do other things. And I'd love to collaborate with you and your organization and how we can, help kids here as well.
Man, that's a done deal, brother. Before I let you go, though, I know you've been doing it the whole conversation, and we definitely regards to that project as well. You said, what was the date you all are going out down?
So we're taking the kids to movie theaters November 12th.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to connect. I see my brother Vito just now put in a chat, which is
Okay.
we need to collab.
Oh,
We have
sure.
which is Black Pawn Game. This is
Yeah.
one that I have on one. We need to talk about collaboration, and two, we want to make sure that we're able to gift you one of our hoodies or shirts that we have as well. And we'll talk offline about the philosophy and everything, but we definitely got to connect in regards to that collaboration and then making sure you get some of the gear. But before you leave, Mo, if you can just drop a few words of inspiration. You've been doing that the whole conversation, but if you can, pull some of the greatest inspiration that you can out for one that may need it right now, or just to put it out in the universe, please end this conversation with some words of inspiration for the people here on the Moment of Truth.
But I'm a believer of God, right? So most time when I talk, anything I say, I'm always like, God willing. And in my religion, we say inshallah. But I'll tell anybody, man, have faith in God. Just to have faith in God, right? You might not see the end of the light at the tunnel. You may not know where you're going. You may not, things may not be going how you think they're supposed to be going. But God's plan is always the best plan. And I've seen it time after time after time when I thought, things couldn't get worse or things couldn't get better. And it's always every time I like question my situation, God proved I shouldn't. So it got to the point where, my wife says, like, how come you don't stress? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I can't stress because I got this belief in God. So, sometimes when things get tough, just let go and let God. I'm not saying don't try to figure it out, but just put that trust in God. You know what I mean? Like, God's timing is the best timing and God's planning is the best planning, So that's my advice to everybody is, man, is have faith in God, most importantly. Secondly, always keep your character to who you are. Don't change your character for money. Don't change your character for popularity. Don't change your character, to fit in. Like, have faith in God and stay true to your character, and things are going to pan out how they're supposed to pan out, I promise.
Absolutely, man. Again, thank you so much. That was such powerful advice and inspiration for the people, man. Bringing it back to our Creator, man. That's always the most infinite, type of inspiration that you could give one. So I want to thank you again on the behalf of Community Connoisseurs. Mo, this has been a dynamic podcast tonight. I'm going to allow you to get back to your beautiful family. Thank you for sharing your daughter with us, letting her come on to the podcast as well. This podcast, for those who may have just joined, will be posted on our page. So if you came on late, please go onto our page and watch this podcast. Again, Mo, thank you, brother.
Man, thank you.
Jaliyah Coffee, JALIAACOFFEE.com. Make sure that you go ahead and check out the brand, check out, his shop, this cafe that he's getting ready to open up on 14th and 8th Street coming in January. Just keep up with this young man has going on. We are super excited to see so many beautiful things that you have upcoming in your future. And man, we locked in, brother. Thank you.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My first podcast, man, and it was exceptional. I called you like, man, what I'm supposed to do, but man, I love it. I appreciate this opportunity, and I love what you guys are doing, the Community Connoisseur, and any way I can, be an asset, an ally to what y'all got going on, man. I'm always available.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. Peace and love.
All right, man. Have a good one. Take it easy.
You too. So there you have it. MOHAMED JALLOH, man. He's just such a dynamic young man. Make sure that you all are following him. Hit the follow button, Jaliyah Coffee, to keep up with his movements. He's doing a lot of things. He's just getting started. As you can see, he's a ball of energy. He's super enthusiastic about his brand. So make sure y'all follow him. And also, if you're not following the Community Connoisseurs, be sure to give us a follow. I see some of the viewers have followed us. We definitely appreciate you all tapping in with us. This has been the Moment of Truth. We bring this podcast to you all every Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Please visit our website, communityconnoisseurs.org. Check out some of the work that we're doing in the community. And if you have the kindness and generosity in your heart to donate to our organization, please hit that donate button. Your contributions would definitely be appreciated and would be pour back into inner city communities in Washington, D.C. So with that said, I've been your host for tonight, Charlie G. We're looking forward to seeing you all next week on the Moment of Truth. Peace and love.